Right, morning, welcome everybody. So, good morning, Friday morning once again. Yeah, so I thought I'd just
Wow.
kick us off with a little that little clip there, seeing that's sort of our theme today. Lee, unfortunately, is not going to be joining us this morning, so you in the tender care of Trevor and myself today. So yeah, apologies for that, but that's why I thought I'd put that good-looking fellow on the screen to start off the session, seeing that. Seeing that we are talking about our humanness in this technological world today. So, all right. I don't have any stories because he's the one normally with stories. So I think we have to go across to Trevor, seeing that he wants the clip. So I'll have to send him the clip as well. So, Trevor, do you want to kick us off this morning? Okay. I'm not sure that that's particularly human.
So I think behind every facade lies this individual inside all of us.
Very good.
Right. What were we talking about today?
Our humanness in relation to technology. How do we maintain it? You know, is 4IR going to totally submerge it underneath all this fancy tech, or do we have bunny rabbits with fancy teeth coming out and biting back every now and again?
Well, look, this was a little birthday present to our little baby, my granddaughter Taylor, yesterday. So Ivan, you will know all about her coming into this world. This sort of just stimulated me to think about, after 66 years experience on this planet, some of the things that actually come up is the man's inhumanity to man. Okay, so there's no gender in this at all, because women are not inhuman to other women. This is all about men. In the main, throughout history, I think we have to be concerned about the fact that within all of us is, every now and then, and I've seen Jasper like this, every now and then when I make a couple of comments to him, and he doesn't realize it, but I read his face extremely well. And then when she got this little gift there yesterday, I thought, man, it tells me something about myself in that over time, I've always learned, and Ivan will find this strange, not to be trusting of individuals. In other words, not to expect too much more, than not to be surprised when this happens. And perhaps to correct myself, I expect a lot of individuals, but I'm not surprised when they actually break down. So I don't know if we should live in a Walter Mitty world where we expect everyone to be Mpumelelo and Ed Chapman and Jasper Cloutier and Cecile van der Rey. I mean, these are just exceptional people. I have no idea how they've been attracted to us. I see Donovan Landsberg as well. I haven't got a clue how they've been attracted to us, but I know it's something like opposites attract. So Ivan, I'm afraid you, me, Lee, we'll have her as one of the good guys. But is there humanness out there? And this was perhaps related to the topic yesterday of 4IR versus human intelligence, or I think the only comment that I can add on to that is, this is me meandering down certain roads. Ed, I'm afraid if you come running with me, you'll get 1,000 different opinions in 100 meters. I think technology will always be the slave to the human and not the other way around. I think it takes the human being and human intelligence to actually create the technologies that so many people fear. So you'll always be the boss of technology. That's my view. Don't phone me when I'm wrong. I'll phone you. But I don't know how to work with the technology. So Ivan will phone you when I'm absolutely wrong on that statement. Can you make sense of that, Ivan?
Not at all.
Okay.
I think the only thing that made sense was the 1,000 opinions in 100 meters, and that's just because it takes you so long to run 100 meters. So where does that take us? I think we have to go across to the rose amongst the thorns first this morning. So Cecile, we're going to have to push on your buttons to brighten the screens here for these all these males and vicious bunny rabbits and you know the like. So yeah, over to you.
And I'm afraid I'm just in the middle of a trance of talking to someone else at the moment, so I will talk to you just now.
So you're being dropped by everybody this morning. Goodness. Okay. All right. So Ed, I think we've got to go across to you then next.
I think the only thing that Trevor and I have got in common is our age, because we're both the same age, but I'm not even sure we're on the same planet. When Lee posed a question yesterday, which I think was about what's the difference between human intelligence and machine or artificial intelligence, I turned to my bookcase, which might seem strange because there's much more resource on the internet. However, I didn't actually need the answer because I knew the answer. What I needed was some way of getting what was in my brain into your brain. And for that, I needed some props. I didn't need the answer, I just needed props. Because our brains are so much more powerful than machines that I knew the answer in a second. And the first book I came to was a thing called Fermat's Last Theorem. I don't know whether any of you guys have read it. It's a fantastic book. It's about a problem that's a very simple problem. It's x squared plus y squared equals z squared has a solution. That's Pythagoras' theorem. X to the n plus y to the n equals z to the n has no integer solutions. So squared it works, any other power it doesn't work. Now a computer cannot solve that problem. It cannot prove that has no solution because it just keeps trying more and more and more solutions. But a French guy over 300 years ago found the solution, said he'd found it, and then dropped dead. And it took 300 years for someone else to find the solution. And the book is all about people. It's not about the mathematics, but it just proves there are problems that computers cannot solve. Only a human can solve them. And in the book, there's a thing called the Fibonacci series, which occurs a lot in nature. Now, a computer could quite easily make things using the Fibonacci series. They would be very pretty. They wouldn't be beautiful because imperfections make beauty. And I don't think computers can make imperfections. And that led me to my other book. Ooh. Here we are. That's the Fibonacci series. But it's actually, when you look at those pictures, it's the imperfections that when you find them that give them their beauty. The other book is a book of poems by a friend of mine. She's an ultra runner. That's why I bought the poems. Nothing about running in the poems at all. Now, I don't think a computer could write a poem. It might possibly write one that rhymes because there's a structure to it. But a lot of the poems in this book are free-form poems. And a computer couldn't do that. it's a connection between a human being and a human being. And this book is quite technical. This book is quite pretty with pictures and very few words. Yet both of them excite me. And the other thing that really excited me was the fact that they were on different ends of my bookshelf. One's a thick book, one's a thin book. One's written by someone I've got no idea who he is, a guy called Simon Singh. The other one, Anna Pascoe, is a friend of mine. I found excitement in those differences, and those. A computer could calculate the difference and say that's a thick book, that's a thin book. I don't think it could be excited by the fact that they are different. So that's what I think is the difference between humans and computers. And also, Trevor was talking about his granddaughter, and I think that's the one thing we do as well. Computers can replicate. They can't reproduce, because when we reproduce, it's something entirely different. It's a new thing, it's a unique thing. So that's my thoughts on the subject. And if you get a chance, please do read Fermat's Last Theorem. It's a fascinating book about people and also about mathematics.
Great, thanks, Ed. And please don't solve any unsolvable problems. We would hate you to drop dead immediately afterwards. I think that must be the moral of the story there. Yeah, it is interesting. I mean, it's pity Trevor Carty's not with us this morning. He actually sent me a WhatsApp message with a link to an article in The Guardian that was apparently written by AI, trying to convince humans that it's no threat. And I read through the article, and what it convinced me is that it wasn't artificial intelligence. It was probably artificial insemination. You know, in other words, the people who set up the computer and set up the questions and all the rest of it totally directed and guided some form of writing, and then they edited it afterwards. So I'm not sure where the intelligence lay in the computer having written the article at all. So it is interesting, and I think you're 100% correct that you know, artificial intelligence is still light years away from being anywhere close to human intelligence. Yes, it might be able to calculate things faster and decipher things up to a point better or quicker. But it doesn't have intuition, it doesn't have emotion, it doesn't have intelligence really. All it does is has process, which it needs to follow. And that's why most IA are single purpose things at this point in time, because there just isn't the capacity to go multi-purpose. But anyway, that's just my little bit on that. So Mpumelelo, let's get across to you.
Good morning again, gents. Allow me to meander a little bit. I will get to the point. You know, interestingly for me, Trevor, it's not so much that, let me speak for me. It's not so much that I'm afraid of technology. I think technology is neutral. It's great for progress and so forth. It's just like money. Money in itself was once a tree that then was made into paper, printed on, and then became a medium of transaction. I think for me, the fear always lies in people, how then people will take the technology and use it in ways that affect others negatively. Yeah, I mean, the fact that somebody could be in London and hack into my account and take millions of rands, and they're so far away and I've got no inkling of who they are, you know, it's like, so that's where the fear comes from, not the technology itself. And then in terms of, I do think of technology giving us progress, but I always question myself, what do we do technology for? Are we progressing for the sake of progress? Or are we using technology because we believe it's going to give us better quality of life? And more often than not, whenever I hear about the building of technology, it seems to be wanting to do things more efficiently and more quicker. But is it because we want to live more quicker lives? Do we want to live fast lives? Is that what? So the question always is for me, to what end? Are we doing technology so that we may produce more? If we produce more, are we going to take more from the earth? And if we produce more, is there enough people to buy the more we are producing? So I tend to have all those, and more often than not, I do hear the reason of coming up with technology dealing with what I can call human deficiency. To say machines don't sleep, they can work 24/7, as if they ought to replace the issues or the problems, the inherent problems of being a human being. Okay, I've meandered now, I'm coming to the point. I guess the point of the question was, would technology replace, or AI replace, our humanity? I think as far as the perception, it's possible. What do I mean by that? It's possible as we build these technologies for us to be convinced that a technology is better than a human being, as is the case with work. They'll tell you a human being goes to sleep, gets tired, doesn't always get it right, whereas a computer would. Yes, it wouldn't replace how a man thinks and how creative a man is and all those parts you can't replicate. But I think our perception of it will replace us thinking that computers are better than a human being. And I think it's also because I think we come up with technology because we can't completely control a human being, whereas we can completely control a technology. And that's where the complication comes in. When it comes to our humanness, in terms of how we are to each other, I think it's only going to emphasize those who have bad intentions with other people will probably find more powerful and stronger ways to do it. Those who are good will find more powerful and great ways to do good. Probably the last question would be, would it affect how we relate to each other as human beings? I would say to a certain extent it would. I can imagine before there was TV, families would sit around and talk to each other much longer. Whereas now we all have individual interests that we run into because technology gives us that. It was interesting. I was helping my son with his assignment, and one of the things we picked up was that before there was recording of music, people used to have to sit around a piano and play and sing together. But the advent of all this technology for music enabled an individual to go sit in their own room and listen to music. People at that time used to find it weird that someone is sitting in the room listening to music, but today is the norm. So I think to a certain extent, it will affect how we relate to each other. I'm not sure to what extent. In actual fact, it's a research I have interest in. I'd like to research to see the technology that we already have. How has it shifted how we interact and relate to each other as human beings? Okay, I have waffled a bit today, but hey, it happens sometimes.
Thanks, Mpumelelo. No, I think it's great. It's interesting. I mean, you talk about that change in interaction. I mean, I've seen and heard a couple of people talking about, you know, people sitting around a table at a restaurant, and especially younger folk, and they're communicating with each other on their cell phones and not with their voices. So they're sending each other messages around the table, but in fact they could be actually sharing a conversation and interaction across the table. And so I think it definitely has impacted certain levels of interaction and communication in society. So it is quite a challenge, that I think, but I mean, look at the kind of interactions we're having here with technology. You know, I mean, I think these are great interactions, you know, so it's finding that balance, I suppose, at the end of the day. So Jasper, find your balance in the mountains or the Alps. Where are you today?
Right. I'm glad you had a few runner-ups before you give it to me, because like you say, there was no structure to the conversation, especially with Trevor starting it. and changing his mind 1,000 times within 100 meters. But it looks like now he set a pattern so we can meander a bit like Mpumalelo did, and jump from mathematics to poems that Ed did. So the rule is there are no rules. So yeah, I'll just add my little bit of meandering, and I think my basic comment is love people and use things, not the other way around. So in the end, it's about mankind, and like Mpumalelo said, you'll always find people. Evil people will find ways to use the technology to do evil, and good people will use the technology to do good. So technology in itself is a tool, and I think one do get a bit overwhelmed in time with the fast pace at which these technologies develop. I remember, or I know for myself, initially I was fascinated by new cell phones as they come up, and the initial cell phones wasn't much more than just a telephone. And then each subsequent one had a little bit more gadgets. So it was quite fun for me to upgrade, but it got to a point where I'm on a contract, and when you can now upgrade to the new one, it's almost like technophobia, because they've changed the operating system that you just got used to, and now you have to relearn a new operating system or a new way of interacting with the gadget. So I think that will be a thing that people will struggle with, the rate at which technology increase. And they have to adapt to it. And I think there will come a time that people's willingness to adapt just comes to a saturation point, and they say enough is enough. I'm now satisfied with what I have, and it will become increasingly difficult to sway them to try new stuff. But I think if you're on a private journey and you're clear on what you want, there's an ongoing search to say, listen, life is short, so much to do, so little time, what can help me? And that's where technology then comes in, to find ways to multiply your own effort. So in that sense, it is just a tool, and I applaud all the new technology that comes in. And I was just thinking about your comment about people sitting at the table, talking to each other via WhatsApp or Facebook or their computers. That's maybe where this new thing of Elon Musk with Neuralink and getting things uploaded in the cloud could well become the thing one day, where we almost telepathically just think and carry on thought conversations almost in our head. So it might then bring the whole circle back to where we are actually communicating at the speed of thought. My concern is the tools in wrong hands, because I don't trust human beings, and where people can lord it on people and play the power game. And I'm just thinking of a practical thing. This whole scare of COVID, and no doubt people have died of COVID, but so have people of the normal flu. And the debate is still on how much of this was just fear mongering and how much of that is really true. Now, what if they now come and someone decides vaccines are the answer and try to enforce it on me, and I personally will not want to be vaccinated. But what if they now say, in order for you to travel, you have to be vaccinated? I'm scared of that kind of scenario, because I love travel. So I don't want to be confronted with the choice of travel versus vaccinated. In that case, travel will probably lose out, because I feel too strong about that one issue. And I think as time goes on, if Ivan, you made a comment there when Mpumalelo was talking about the pre-TV days. Imagine that, and you say, no, we don't have to imagine, we were there. So in our lifetime, we've seen things like TV, microwave oven. Can you guys imagine life before microwave oven? And having to do everything with an oven, cook the water on a plate, and stuff like that. But we've adopted it, and it's now part of our lives. And young people can't imagine not having TV, not having microwaves, not having cell phones. You made the comment yesterday with your gardener carrying maybe 1 or 2 cell phones. So I don't think technology is the challenge, but understand that technology can free us to become more human. And by human, I'm talking about our ability to think, our ability to be creative, our ability to explore, where most of the stuff that's currently being replaced by technology would be called donkey work, stuff that is almost inhumane. And that sits with the old previous industrial era. So I'm quite happy for it, but my challenge is humans will only benefit from the increase in technology if simultaneously there's also a growth in their ability to think and create. Because if you don't know how to create and use your time productively, you might just end up being bored, stiff out of your mind, and become a victim for the people who will now numb your senses with entertainment and drugs and all sorts of other things. So I think that could well become the new challenge as technology improves, is humanity's disability to stay abreast and use it productively.
Thanks, Jasper. And I think I heard the cops coming to get you because you were talking for so long. So we just we have to see. But no, appreciate that. I think you're 100% correct. You know, it's about encouraging the use of technology to handle those mundane, repetitive tasks, and using the creativeness and the ability of humans to think to really just grow and extend themselves and then extend society. While the work is being done by machines. But Donovan, let's hear your thoughts on that one. Donovan, are you with us?
Sorry about that. I just had to plug in my headset. Yeah, it's an interesting time we're living in. I remember when I was a student, they talked about expert systems. It's closely related to AI, and we were so excited about the topic, thinking, you know, our workload is going to be reduced, we'll get more results faster, but we didn't realize the impact on our careers, on our profession especially. It has the potential of taking away, you know, job opportunities. Yeah, so it's I would say I've got mixed feelings about it. I'm positive about, you know, the advances, making things quicker and easier to do, but then the human part that we are used to playing won't be there anymore. So we'll have to constantly reinvent ourselves, our careers, our lifestyles, everything. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Donovan. Yeah, and for me, I think, you know, I think that constant reinvention actually should lead to better quality of life and more innovation, more invention, more creation of doing things better and better. But right, it remains to be seen how we as a species actually handle all of that. So, Cecile, are you able to round off things for us this morning? Are you still busy multitasking as always?
No, I'm still multitasking. I'm sorry. Lovely discussion, guys. I am in between the computer and my phone. I was listening all the time. Fantastic.
Good. All right. Thanks, Cecile. I'm amazed you can do all of that, but then we know you're the lady that does. So yeah, us guys, we struggle with that kind of multitasking. But so Trevor, I see you multitasking between your cat and your mouse. Yeah, would you like to round us off and maybe suggest something to chat about on Monday?
Right, so I agree with everyone that sent me private messages. When is Lee coming back? Just to give us some control. And that just reminds me, again of that little Zig Ziglar analogy of the locomotive requiring railway tracks to stay on course. And that's the balance. I actually woke up thinking about this morning, and a song came into my head, and maybe you can find it. It was a great song in the 60s when we had radio, and it went something along the lines of "You Don't Own Me." So we've got to go and find that particular song. You don't own me. So we all want to be independent. And me speaking for myself particularly, I thought that that for me is a theme tune. This is dedicated to the women in our lives. Yes, yeah. So us women stick together. That's why I've brought this song up. You Don't Own Me. I'm trying to remember who it was. She was fantastic. Who've you got here? You can't get it. For me, independence and freedom is very important. And I recognize that that must be in a large number of other folks' heads as well. You want to be independent, you want to be free, you want to have freedom. But then I was asking myself, well, how much am I affected in my own mind by what other people are doing? And so humanness versus technology. I love the meandering of Mpumalelo. I've now identified that he can't keep a thought in his head for more than 3 seconds. And clearly I'm talking as a mirror because that's what happens in my head, Mpumalelo. So I don't want to demean you in any way. I love the way that you guys, Ed, Mpumalelo, Donovan, you all have such great focus. I can only doff my cap to your humanness and humanity. I need technology to keep me on the straight and narrow.
So that doesn't help, Trevor. So what are we talking about on Monday?
Is that what you asked as a question? Just hang on. I'm going to consult Google. What do you want to talk about? Leave it to Lee to open up the discussion. I think, you know what, when Lee has actually opened up and she's read a little paragraph out of some of her writings, and you must go and have a look at some of her book interviews. She interviewed Nozipo, and it was the most fantastic interview. Let's leave it to Lee to kickstart us off, because that gets us going for the entire week. And then Ed spoils it by the end of the week. And we're, then I don't know how to think, and I'm all discombobulated. So that's where I am at the moment. Look, life is good. All I want to turn around and say is that we have got to connect with the type of individuals we're connecting with, have some fun, while also considering all these negativities that are coming through, and how we can turn the negativities and crises into opportunities. And we're working on these things, as some of you people recognize. So have a good weekend.
Yeah, ooh, seems like my internet is going wobbly here, but thanks, Trevor. Yeah, I think have a great weekend, everybody. So Ed, that was Chris Christopherson and Bobby McGee, what you were looking for. But have a great one, folks, and we'll see you on Monday. Cheers.